Hey everyone, welcome to Geek Ass Chat Podcast. I'm Shirley.
I'm Christy. What's up?
And we are with two lovely guests today for our horror podcast. This is Halloween. This is Oh shit, Disney might come after us actually. Like,
yeah, you better cut that
out. Like, oh shit. Okay, Christy, you want to introduce our guests?
Yes. Okay, I have two amazing guests here. I have Eugenia, who was my director of photography for my public housing film.
Hi, all.
And then I have Kisori, who's the sound director, and she was awesome on the thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Thank you guys for being here. I'm excited. You know, it's always me and Christy. You know, we get annoyed with each other. But anyways,
yeah.
And we talk over each other. But anyways, this episode's going to be about our, like, favorite horror movies and all that stuff, all that goodness. And, yeah, and what, you know, is popular horror-wise, what is not popular, what we're like, okay, I don't know why the hell that shit is popular and all that. So let's get into it. Okay. So what are some of your favorite things about the horror movies that you love? Or don't even love? I don't know. I mean, you guys could go first. Oh, I could go first.
Go for it.
Yeah, okay. I think I talked to you before about this, Kisori, about like social commentary. I think with horror movies, social commentary, especially in like BIPOC communities, like Get Out and all that stuff, you know, it's that horror atmosphere or like topic goes so well to bring up like I think we were talking about the ending of the zombie film from George Romero.
Do you guys know it?
The Night of the Living Dead.
Of course, yeah.
And we thought that it was commentary about the black man who was the main star, you know, got killed in the end by cops because this is something that happens in real life.
But the director says it was not, right?
Yeah. So we're like, oh shit, the whole time,
Right.
the whole time we were wrong. But that doesn't take away the fact that as an audience member or a viewer, you can take that away from these movies. Even if the director says, nah, you can take it away. Oh, yeah, you can go. You could just chime on it. You don't have to raise your hand. You're like, I love it. You were like, okay, classroom study. Let's go.
Yeah, so thank you guys for having me, even though I feel like I'm completely unqualified to speak about horror because I wouldn't consider myself a horror fan necessarily. I am scared of horror, so I don't really watch it, but I do want to add my background is coming from kind of the art world, and the way that you were speaking about what the director was intending versus what the audience read, and kind of my own philosophy is that once you make the artwork, it is out there and you don't get to dictate the meaning anymore. And if someone can find a different meaning, then it's there.
Yeah.
You know, so just the fact that the director didn't intend, to make commentary in a specific way doesn't mean that, that's not what the work is expressing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's why Night of the Living Dead is one of my favorite horror movies because of that ending and how I see it as a viewer. Another Halloween. I love that movie because I don't know why, but I just love it. It's just so simple in its horror. Like, it's just like the music, come on, let's go. And the John Carpenter's music. And then it's just like the suspense of like, and they don't really show the kills in Halloween. I'm talking about like the 1970, was it 1974?
I think
Shit,
I
hope
believe
it is.
so,
I
yeah.
think so. So, I don't know. It's just that, and a lot of killings would happen in cities in real life. You know, that was the thing in the news. And then here it is, the setting of the suburbs, and somebody's killing people. And that doesn't really, it's like, oh shit,
people were shocked because it's not something that you
shocked.
normally see in news. You see a lot of news about
City,
inner city
urban.
crime and all that. This can't happen in the suburbs.
Not in the suburbs.
So,
but it makes it more easier because people are like in their houses and they're doing shit. Don't act like they're not. But I don't know what you have.
I mean, for Halloween, I think that was really like the first real slasher and the first film to show people like this can happen anywhere and really bring that fear to people. And it was like the first one that had the theme music for the killer, which really just creates such a good atmosphere. And then, like you said, they don't really show the violence, but it's still scary. It's like the horror of like not seeing what's happening, but having the suspense of the music and just like the figure of Michael Myers with a mask and not understanding who he is really underneath. And that kind of like created the slasher villain. We don't really know who they are. They just represent all of our fears combined into this destructive figure.
That's good, because you're right. It could be anybody that you know. Yeah. Except for the fact when you cut off their heads, they still come back. But that's another story, another time. But you know what I mean. But Christy, do you have a horror movie?
Well, I want to hear what anyone wants to say here about horror. Another horror film that you guys maybe liked, saw, didn't like.
Yeah, I can speak on that. I mean, I feel like I'm a huge fan of horror, so I'm really honored to be here, and I'm honored that Christy has given me the chance to work on a horror film, because that's been my dream for a long time. And I recently saw this film called It Lives Inside, and it was actually, it's like an Indian American horror film, and it's about an Indian girl in high school, two Indian girls, and it kind of goes deep into Hindu mythology and goes into this demon that supposedly eats away at your soul when you go to sleep with a bad feeling in your heart. And I don't want to get too into it because it's a great film and I want you guys to watch it. But I really appreciated just that it went into Hindu mythology and that we're seeing horror now that is actually going into other cultures but set in the West. And I think that's really needed. And I was talking to other people who have seen that film just about how the stakes are much higher when it involves like ancient mythology, and when you really understand like the deeper meaning. Like after seeing that film, I was really thinking about what it meant to not go to sleep with a bad feeling in your heart and all the bad energy that kind of accumulates when you have those feelings. And I guess in Hinduism, a lot of times what I learned growing up Hindu was that you really can attract negative energy. And when you have, for example, when you're like unclean, when you're dirty, or when you're just having negative thoughts, like ghosts and demons are more attracted to you. And I think that really makes sense when we think about like the energy of everything. So that was a really cool one. I was really happy to see something like that.
I want to see that.
That's pretty deep.
No, that sounds so interesting. And I love that you mentioned that it goes into different cultures. And that's the beauty of horror now, is going into different cultures. Like with us, La Llorona, except for that movie. That La Llorona movie was shit. But I'm talking about the other one.
Yeah, the Guatemala one.
Yeah, the Guatemala one. It was an independent movie.
Ooh.
And that one was really good because it took the aspect of colonization and how like what happened to indigenous people from Guatemala and stuff. And like La Llorona, some of the stories are like Spaniards came, the Spaniard fell in love with the indigenous woman, he did her wrong, and then she ends up killing her children and stuff like that. So it's just like horror can go and use those the cultures, and the people from the cultures can tell those stories and put that aspect onto it of like the mythology and stuff. And I think I love that. So yeah. And I'm forgetting the director's name. I feel so bad now.
Is that a way of working through trauma?
Yes.
I wonder. Yeah.
Yes, that's what horror is for me. It's like a safe space and a safe place to feel anxiety, where I'm like, okay, now I have a reason to feel this anxious, and like it makes sense here, and I'm in a protected environment somewhat. And also I think, just like the way that we live now, we don't really get to experience adrenaline in healthy ways. So that's why horror is so important to me. I feel like it's just such a good release, and it helps you work through a lot of trauma. I feel like a lot of horror movies go deep into like family trauma. I was thinking of Hereditary when you guys were bringing up this conversation.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
It is great. And yeah, the trauma of that family and what they go through. Whew. That shit was real. I was like, damn, okay. But thank you for bringing up that movie. Do you want to give the next question? Because actually I got locked out of your phone. I can't see the next question.
That's fine. Well, actually, before we move on, Eugenia, do you have a horror film that kind of like really like you saw and was like disgusted, did not like?
No, so I tend to stay away from horror because I like jump scares. I can't deal with them.
It's a lot typical
Yes.
horror films. Some horror
I
films.
do want to talk about kind of the last horror thing that I've seen, and I did enjoy it, although some parts, there were some jump scares, and I was not watching for those. So the series is called Archive 81.
Oh, I love that show.
Yes, and I really liked kind of the atmosphere that they created, and you're just like going deeper and deeper into this place that's also in the character's mind.
Oh, wow.
And also kind of in a different reality. So that was really interesting. And a different thing that stood out for me was because I was watching it as we were working on Public Housing Z, and I was speaking to the actors on set, kind of in between takes and all of that, and how they were saying that acting for camera is different than acting for theater, and how a lot of actors prefer to act for theater because it feels more natural. Things happen in a chronological way, and when you're filming, it's not. And oftentimes, they would be like, "What are we doing now? If we're in the same space but we're doing a different scene?" It's like you have to completely change your mindset. So this series kind of explored these like ghosts that live inside of cameras. And to me, I'm like, that is true, because you are acting like you're looking at a camera and you're acting like for these people that are going to see you later, like they are the ghosts. Like, and that was kind of the idea that occurred to me. I don't know what, that's probably, it wasn't intended by the people that made the series, but I
as a
want to
viewer,
keep thinking
that's
about
what-
it.
yeah,
Yes,
that's what you took away.
because once you invented the film camera, you're completely changing performance, and you're completely changing how you tell stories.
Yeah.
And the whole like ghost inside of the camera is kind of a eerie idea.
That's really interesting.
Where is this at? Where you saw this at?
Sorry,
On Hulu or
This
is
is
it
Netflix.
like?
And
Oh, it's
Netflix, yeah.
Netflix. Oh, okay. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, it just makes me think of like so many things, like just the superstition that like the camera takes a part of your soul, and also like I feel like with Archive 81 and just the idea that cameras capture a moment in time, and like and then it's frozen forever. And I was watching like this old vampire movie from the 30s the other day, and I'm just thinking, wow, everybody in this movie is dead. And it's really just an eerie feeling. It changes your perception of the film. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's a lot to think about.
No, you're right. I mean,
That is
one
true. You don't
film
even
that
think
I
of that.
get very like this really, scared feeling about, even when I just mention it, is Poltergeist, because I know so much bad things happen to the actors, but also the film itself
That
is
shit
scary.
is
But
sad.
what's scary is that a lot of these actors passed away.
That's sad, man.
Yeah, go into that more. I want to be reminded of this story because I've watched like the documentary about all of the horror films where actors have suffered weird fates, and like a lot of actors have woken up at like 3:33 a.m. while they're on set, like, and Poltergeist was one of those. So please go into what you know about that.
Well, Poltergeist was actually the topic itself. It was a family who moves into a land, and the land was a burial ground for indigenous peoples, and so it was the people who were trying to really just take back their land. But that's the perspective that I got from it. So the film itself was scary, but I also thought that there was kind of like this image that they were trying to portray of the indigenous people that I did not jive with. Was like they were the scary ghosts coming to attack this family. I did not like that. But what's even scarier is that a lot of these actors ended up passing away, right?
In real life.
In real life. The little girl.
The little girl died of an illness, and I'm forgetting the name of the actual illness, but she had a severe illness, and she passed away young. Like at 12, right? Or 13? Something like that. And then the sister, she got killed by her boyfriend in real life.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And they were actually filming, right, on the sacred land, right?
Yeah.
On
I
this.
think so. So yeah, it's just sad. That shit is sad.
Kisori, do you know more?
No, I remember hearing that, but I didn't know they were actually filming on that land, so that's really interesting. And it also makes me think of this like cult horror film called Hell House LLC. It's like a found footage horror film.
Oh.
And it's one of those films that makes you believe it's a real found footage film, kind of like Blair Witch. I think it was from 2009, and it's basically like about a haunted house crew that I think they rent out an abandoned hotel in upstate New York, and the hotel is supposedly in this town that is like has the same name as like some demon from the Bible, and supposedly like the gateway to hell. And they didn't understand the history of the house, and they tried to make a haunted house in there, and bad things happen. And it just makes me think of just not knowing like the history of your land and like what effects that can have. And also just like in New York especially, a lot of the buildings and the houses are so old, and I really think about like all the energy that lingers. So
that is true.
It is very scary. Like,
especially in public housing.
It's
a lot of energy.
So you trying to scare me?
Because he was like, wait.
I'd be praying up in there. Like, you don't even know.
I mean, we heard stories.
Yeah, we've heard stories, and it's kind of scary too.
It's scary.
Because there is also high crime in public housing and stuff.
Yeah.
And but
I think drug dealers used to live in our apartment, right?
That's what we heard.
I heard.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
But like these horror films that mess around with stuff like that, I try to stay away from. But like Llorona is one that I couldn't, because it's all about revenge, baby. And I was like, go for revenge. It. Yeah, I can't tell you anymore because it'll take away from the story.
The Ouija board, none of that shit. I don't play with that.
No,
you don't play with that.
Yeah, so I know somebody who kind of knows about that, and she was like, don't like these movies that play around with these Ouija boards or stories, well, anything to do with death or afterlife. It can be very dangerous to enter into that.
Truly is. I have a Ouija board in my house.
Whoa.
My great grandma supposedly like used the Ouija board a lot, and I live with my grandma now, and she tells me like creepy stories about how like she would be home and her mom would be like in the attic, and like she would hear voices and there's no one else there, and just like weird things that would happen in her childhood, like just stuff that would go missing that couldn't possibly have gone. And she felt really uncomfortable around her mom because her mom would always try and get her to do the Ouija board with her, and my grandma was not about that at all, and it created a rift. And a lot of my family just comments on how my great grandma was kind of witchy, and we have her Ouija board. And when I was like 14, my cousin and I we messed with it, and the candle blew out, and it spelled out like the first letters of the woman who used to live in our apartment. She didn't die there, but it freaked us out enough that I was like, never again, never again. And now I feel like it just runs in my family to be really interested in like the occult. And now my nephew, who's 8, every time he comes over, he's like, can we please play with the Ouija board? I'm like, hell no. And he's always trying to get it, and I'm hiding it from him every week. Like, so yeah, it's definitely something that is not a game. And I think like even movies that like talk about Ouija boards, I'm like, no. Like, I feel like it just could open up something.
Yeah. I like your grandma though. That's dope, though. So was she a witch or like?
I don't know. There's a lot
Like,
of
what's
weird
she-
things about her. Like
okay.
she, I think she was 98 when she passed away, and she still had like vibrant brown hair. I don't think she dyed her hair, and she couldn't wear
her.
watches because watches would just stop on her. Like she couldn't be around clocks or watches. So I don't know what that was.
Oh, she had power. Good for her. I like her vibes.
She loved cats as well.
Yes.
Sure. She's a cat person.
And here I am with a black cat now. But yeah. I
That's
know.
so cool.
I
What's
know.
your black cat's name?
His name is Maurice.
Maurice.
He's an old man name.
It sounds like from Addams Family.
Yeah.
Like some type of like name like that. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Eugenia, you haven't messed with a Ouija board, right?
No.
You stay away from those clear. Me
I'm not
too.
about that life.
No.
You were talking about horror movies that are bad or like
Yeah, we can
Like,
actually
Well,
go.
I actually have a question about horror movies because
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
a lot of the time, I'm seeing things that are like there's a lot of demons, and then you get like the Catholic people who are trying to do the exorcism, and I see that theme a lot, and I'm honestly a little tired of it. So I wonder if like it's a really are there any horror movies that don't have that kind of stay away from this heaven and hell and demons type of thing?
Well, I feel the same way. Like I'm kind of sick of like the really strong Catholic tropes and everything. And so I want to give a shout out to Asian horror and a couple of Taiwanese horror films that I love. And one of them is on Netflix. It's called Incantation, which I told you about,
still didn't see
Shirley.
that. She freaked me out.
Seriously,
I
I'm
told
scared.
Christy, I was like, I'm too scared
That's
to
one
watch
of
this
those
shit.
films that like I really feel like crosses over into everyone's reality who watches it, and they made it that way. Like they put subliminal messages, like little flashes of things in between each shot, and they just get embedded into your mind throughout the film. And there's one point, and the whole film it's based on Buddhism and a Buddhist curse, so it's very different to Catholicism. Like there's not so much the idea of heaven and hell. It's more like your karma is what brings you your fate. And there's a point in that film where they show something. They're like, don't look at this, you're gonna get cursed. And they constantly throughout the film are repeating this incantation, and that gets embedded in your mind. And they say, if you remember this incantation, you're gonna get cursed. So it just like gets into you. And the point where they were like, don't look, I looked. And after seeing that, I was like, things don't scare me. I watch a lot of horror films, but after seeing that, I was up all night like, oh my God, am I cursed? Because I grew up in Hong Kong, so Buddhism is like embedded into my being as well. So it felt really real to me. And that was one that, had me scared for a while.
Okay.
I don't know if you're helping your case with that movie. Because now I'm like,
so good.
This
It's
is for
so
like
good.
the deep, hardcore horror fans that are just
Maybe.
want to be scared.
no, I'm going to check it out.
It's regardless of how scary it is, the story is great, the acting is amazing, and the editing is so good.
I saw the trailer and it did freak me out. That's why I was like, but I'm going to check it out because what up to Asian horror movies? Holy shit, are they fucking scary.
Yeah.
They are legit scary.
Yep.
And they have stories too. I mean, like The Ring, Audition. I did not see that movie. I saw like a couple minutes and I shut that shit off like mad quick.
What's Audition? I haven't heard of that.
You never seen it? It's about a girl. Well, I only know about the ending because they talk about the ending a lot. Is that she starts torturing this man and they show the torturing, and so it's a famous like Asian film. I'm forgetting which country it's from actually right now, but yeah, it's like the concept is that the guy wants to meet a woman, and so he has these auditions, and these girls will come and stuff. Yeah, it's weird.
I don't like that.
And so in the end, he meets the main girl that ends up torturing him, and he's not the only guy she tortures. And so basically the ending is just her torturing him, and they show it and shit. I never want to watch that movie. Some people were like, why the hell did I see this? But
I want to unwatch it.
yeah, like I want to unwatch it. Let me wash my eyes. But I heard it's really good, so I don't know. I don't know. But yeah.
That sounds freaky. I will say, like, something I love about horror films is that it gives women the space to be violent and, like, enact violence on screen. I love that.
I love that too. Because you don't see that anywhere else.
Exactly.
That's true.
No, it's okay.
Or they're the survivors in the
Yeah.
end too.
Yeah,
Of course, because we're smart.
yeah.
Oh,
We would. Do that. So, let's go into the next topic, which is to talk about very quickly Public Housing Z, which is the horror short film that I've been working on about a young girl who lives in a debilitating public housing building, and there is an outbreak that has affected her family and her mom and neighbors, and so she has to escape. And so I have Eugenia, who's the director of photography, Kisori, the sound director. And right now, we're kind of like the beginning stages of post, but we're going to talk about a little bit about production, what they might have liked about it, learned, disliked, the challenges. We can just talk about your own experience. Whoever wants to go first. Yay!
Well,
I didn't like
I feel
shit.
like maybe I'm talking for everyone, but I feel like we learned a lot.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, people keep in mind this was our first short film, at least for me and Eugenia, and it's horror, and horror is also challenging to shoot.
Mm.
No, we're just silent because there were so many challenges. We're trying
Yes,
to think of
we're
which-
trying
where
to
start.
Make
Where
a
do
top
I
10 of the
start?
challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I guess the lighting.
yeah, the
I saw
lighting
you
was
guys
very
had
difficult.
Crazy.
I think just the fact that it's, you're doing it for the first time, and you have to work with actors and schedules and all of that stuff, and you have to, whenever there's an issue coming up, you have to deal with it. So it's like a lot of different things happening. So that's, that was definitely a challenge. Lighting was so hard. So what I learned, I think number one lesson is those pre-light days are the most important, and you should definitely do them. You should have your lights ready to go. Yeah.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
I saw the struggle with you guys.
Yes.
To get that light right. I was like,
Yeah.
damn. And when you watch movies, you're just enjoying them. But for me personally, I'm not thinking about
Yeah.
all the freaking work that goes
And
into
now
that.
I can't even watch a movie. I'm like, where's the light? Where did they put the light? And I will pause, and I'm like, okay, so there's a light coming from here. There's a light here. I think they also have a light like from above.
Yeah. No, and
Yeah.
I think when we were in San Francisco, what up to Blacktastic Media, to LA,
Yeah.
to Jaya, he's dope, check him out. He was talking about, as a black man, he was talking about horror movies and how, like, they don't know how to light black actors on films, especially in horror movies and stuff. So that was something very important to him. And I think that's why it was so important to, Christy and stuff, to be like, okay, we gotta, like, light our main star, right? Because this would be so messed up if we don't at least try or something,
Yeah, I think in combination with that was the space itself. Like, it was hard to set up the light also because the space was so small, and it just sucked in all the light. I don't know where it went, but it wasn't there.
Yeah,
And
no, like the
so-
wall sucked in all the light, and they
Right.
reflected everything,
Yeah.
and you're like, I don't want this color in the shot, but it's there.
Yeah, I think Eugenia, you did a great job at coming up with a solution, if you want to talk about it, for the lighting,
shower
especially
curtain.
for because people want to know the behind the scenes and how did they do it. For our young black actress Jamia, who was great and very patient with us. But yeah.
I feel like we tried our best. I don't know if we really got the lighting to be optimal. But I think kind of diffusing it with the softbox that you had, and also adding in color from a shower curtain from a store down the street.
Such a
I
smart.
think we used the pink shower curtain.
Yeah.
Just to kind of like not make the light really harsh and soften the color and like warm it up a little bit. Yeah, you gotta work with what you have.
No.
Yeah,
definitely.
I do wish that, you know, and maybe this is a lack of education on my part on like what to do with the walls. I know that there has to be a solution for like how to not get so much light on the wall and have it more on the character, but you know, we tried.
No,
Yeah.
definitely.
And those public housing wall colors, mad hard.
The lighting, everything is
Yeah, I
rough.
mean, with the limited space, and we didn't have that many lights. Like, I think we did a great job with the makeshift lighting. But
And also with how I remember the scene in front of the bathroom,
oh my
in
god,
front of
the space is
the
just
door,
so tight.
and it's like, Christy's like, can you get a wider shot? I'm like, no, because it's me, it's the camera, it's light, and it's Kisori behind me, and there's a door. Like, there's no more space. We're like, you know, squished against
Yeah.
each other.
Eugenia was probably like, girl, wake up.
You see this space? Come on now. The sound.
Yeah.
Yo, everything was
Oh my
getting picked
gosh.
up. Like,
The sound was a huge challenge. Like, I don't even know where to start. Public housing or all buildings in New York just have very thin walls, so you can hear everything coming through all the other apartments. And on top of that, we had a lot of scenes in the stairwell, and the stairs are metal, so it's just like the most echoey situation possible. And I'm so glad that this was like my first time being a sound recordist for a horror film, and it was so challenging, and I learned so much about how to like mitigate those crazy sound effects. But like, I think one of the first days where I put on the headphones and I had the boom, I was so overwhelmed because I was hearing personal things happening in everyone's apartment, and it's like really, it's lonely being the sound recordist, guys, because you're the only one with the headphones, you're the only one who's having this perspective of hearing all the sounds. And I'm hearing crazy fights going on.
Oh,
I'm hearing
shit.
people like hitting their kids, and I'm like,
what? You heard all that?
yeah, I heard a lot
Oh,
of
God.
craziness. And the first day I was like, okay, I have to take these off, and it just feels weird, like I'm invading people's privacy. And also like
Right.
I'm hearing scary things, like I you know, it's a lot. And yeah, there was a lot going on. And then we would just be in the stairwell and hear a lot of like crazy conversations happening, and the sound just travels so far. So it was a lot of waiting. It was a lot of waiting for the right moments, and we got really lucky that our child actors happened to be so patient and so cooperative.
That's hard.
But yeah, I think in the end, like, we got some really good sound, because a lot of those crazy sounds that we heard, people screaming, like, we picked a lot of that up, and I think a lot of it is going to be usable. We heard a lot of people coughing, which fits into the story. A lot of hysterical coughing. And just like the echoiness of the stairwell, like on one hand it's terrible to pick up everyone else's sound, but on the other hand it creates a really cool effect when we just have the sound that we want. So I'm really excited to get into the post and see how everything looks.
Cool.
It sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was telling with Christy, like, it's like, okay, again, you work with what you have, because again, with the resources and stuff and budget, non-budget, you know, and also it's like you could do whatever you can with post-production. Like, you just fuck with that. Like, you're just like, all right, let's do it here, let's do it there, and see what like works, right? And so yeah, I like I told Christy, just have fun and stuff with, like, you know, because ultimately it comes to the sound and like the music and the editing with the film, you know. So
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say about camera? You know, positioning the camera in such a small
F that
space?
camera. No.
When did you realize that? Like, did you feel like you have to improvise a lot in the space once you were there with the actress?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, this is why, you know, now looking back, I'm like, I wish we had a pre-light day where we figured out like the lights at least, but then some things you really cannot do without the actors there, like the mirror scene. I feel like that's one of the hardest ones that we had to do, and I hope that there's good footage of that, because you have to I have to not be seen in the mirror, and I have to see them both in real life and in the mirror.
It was a lot of tough scenes.
Yeah. And also, I think with like kind of reviewing footage when we're in the scene and we kind of look at it on the small screen and it looks okay. It's like, oh yeah, that's good. And then we look at it on the big screen and it's like, oh no. You see all of the imperfections. You're like, no, we have to reshoot. This is not going to work. Like that happens so many times.
Yeah, it's good that you brought your laptop. You were very, on top of that, and brought, we would always check out the scenes right after. So that was important. I mean, I'm just mentioning that because for any person who is interested in filmmaking, who's out there, that all these little details come into play, and it's so hard to like stay on top of everything, especially when you have such a small team. But I think that with the small team that we had, we were pretty flexible. We kind of had this really good working dynamic. And I'm so grateful to have both of you on my team, because without you guys, I probably would have been crazy trying to shoot everything myself and take care of sound. And so,
and then you would have forced me to do it. Like,
no,
sure.
I think that's kind of part of another thing that I learned. I guess it's more for myself and not kind of in general for filmmaking, of how much you have to rely on other people and just how much of a team effort it is making a film.
Yes.
Because before, I feel like everything I shot, it was just like me with a camera and, the person, and just kind of unscripted. And it's so much easier to shoot than this, where it's scripted, where you have several actors, you have several behind the scenes people, you have a schedule for your location, you have a schedule for kind of making sure everyone gets food, gets water, gets their breaks, and all of that. And I'm so grateful to have had you guys just there and taking care of things. And when I was on set, I was like, okay, like, I'm not going to think about this because I know someone else has this. Like, and also with sound, because originally I don't know if we were going to have someone do the sound. And I'm so grateful that we had you, Kisori. Because I couldn't pay attention to the sound at all. Like, you would ask me, like, oh, was there a dog barking? And I'm like, I can't hear anything. Like, my eyes are the only things that are working, and that's it. Don't ask me anything else.
Yeah, like, we really each needed to be focused on our different areas, but at the same time, we all needed each other's perspective, because when, like, a film is going to get a lot of eyes, and it was so good to have each other to bounce things off of, and I think we all gave each other advice about our different roles. Like, we were all giving input on the lighting, the camera, and the sound, and that was needed. Like, it's really hard, like you said, to just have one person focusing on everything and making sure it's all good. So I'm so glad I had you guys. And Christy, like, you were an amazing director. Like, you did so well with, like, making sure the actors knew what they were supposed to be feeling and, like, really giving them the care that they needed as, like, child actors. And yeah, I was blown away by your professionalism as a first-time director.
Yeah, I was trying my best, but and Eugenia was also helping me on that front, giving direction as well, so I was grateful for that, because there are sometimes things that I couldn't see that Eugenia would see and stuff, especially you, Kisori, with the sound. You're like, oh, well, we should capture this, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I was like, so it was great because I felt like we really trusted each other, and that was important for me, because, and then Kisori, like, we didn't meet you before that. Like, this was, we met you on set. Like, we didn't have no, like, real formal meeting, and you just came in there and was like, you worked with us,
Yeah, I feel like we clicked.
Yeah.
It just worked out really fast, which is what we needed.
Yeah, so it was challenging. I learned a lot, but it was also fun working with you guys, so I'm so grateful for that experience. I just want to say that we're currently still fundraising for the film, and I Fund Women. It's called Public Housing Z. So if anyone's out there wants to listen, wants to support new filmmakers, please do. I will put the link in the comment section. And so this is just a taste. I'm hoping that you guys will continue doing interviews with me about the film. You know, there's so much to explore within the film. And then once we get to post, we'll talk more about that. So I don't know if anyone wants to say anything because we're about to wrap up the show. And
I was the most important person in the set. I was bringing the food. Hold on.
Thank you,
well,
Shirley.
what about my experience?
I am so but Shirley, talk about your
Tell us
experience.
about your experience. Yeah.
It was hot as shit most of those days. I was like, I don't know how you guys are filming
In the hall.
in
In the stairwell.
Oh my
Thick,
god.
hot air. Yeah.
That was hard. No, but I'm truly grateful to you guys, Eugenia and Kisori, to like help out my sister to do this film because I just wanted my sister to like do what she wanted to do, and I was supporting her, and I was like, oh yeah, you know. And so to have people support her, I truly appreciate that. I really do. On this project, so yeah. But it was a lot.
Don't worry. There's definitely gonna be a lot more interviews about the films that you can talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just wanted to make sure that we got you in here early because it's Halloween and it's a horror film, and we love to talk more. And we can always do more horror short
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
conversations.
I'll be here.
Yeah, because horror doesn't just happen during Halloween.
Yeah,
Exactly.
No, it does.
So-
All year round.
So don't worry, folks. This was just a taste. We're coming back at you with more information, with more, juicy stuff about horror films and just, life in the future. So Eugenia and Kisori will be back. And we can also bring back Eugenia if she wants for just talk about film and stuff. Doesn't have to be horror.
Yeah, definitely.
But
She's
thank
like, "That's
you
not
for
my cup of
joining
tea."
us today.
She's like, I'm not here for this, okay? Thank you for listening to Geek Ass Chat. We're on Apple Podcasts and YouTube, and I don't know what the hell our next episode is gonna be about.
It's also horror. Everything is for the
It's horror this
looking.
one?
Yeah.
Oh damn.
Everything's horror. But
My mind
anyways,
is blank.
please follow us on IG to learn more about our podcast and also our film, and our link to the campaign is also there.
Chat.
So thanks, Eugenia. Thanks, Kisori, for joining us.
so much,
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Okay.
you. Adios.
Adios. Peace. We're
Peace
out of
out.
here.